The hybrid awakens. The twin suns of Kaelaris rose over the jagged horizon, casting fractured light across the crumbling remnants of what had once been a thriving mortal city. Smoke curled from the ruins like the fingers of a dying giant, and the silence between the echoes of destruction was deafening. Among the wreckage, a figure moved cautiously, tall but strangely lit from within, a faint celestial glow pulsing beneath their skin. This was Kaelen, the hybrid, the child of mortal flesh and divine essence, born in secret and raised with whispers of prophecy and peril. From a young age, Kaelen had known that they were different. Their reflection in the fractured mirrors of their hidden sanctuary revealed eyes that shimmered with starlight and hair that shifted like liquid silver. Their body, though mortal, carried strength and resilience far beyond human limits. Yet, it was not just physical power that set them apart. It was the knowledge that within their veins flowed the blood of a god, an inheritance that could either save or doom countless worlds. Kaelen's earliest memories were of hiding. Their mortal mother had shielded them from the Pantheon's gaze, teaching them the secrets of survival, of moving silently through a world that would kill them for what they were. She had spoken often of the prophecy, a hybrid who would rise to challenge the divine order, who would bring the wrath of stars down upon those who believed themselves untouchable. At the time, Kaelen had only listened with wide eyes, imagining the grandeur of such a destiny. But as the years passed, the weight of expectation pressed heavily against their shoulders. This morning was different. Kaelen felt it the moment they awoke, the universe thrumming in a new rhythm, a vibration that seemed to pulse through every star in the sky. The air itself tasted electric, charged with the promise of reckoning. Their instincts, sharp as the blades strapped to their side, told them that the world had shifted while they slept. And as they stepped onto the cracked streets of Kaelaris, the reason became terrifyingly clear. The city had fallen. Smoke rose from shattered buildings, and in the distance, a faint hum of celestial energy marked the presence of the Pantheon's enforcers. Kaelen's pulse quickened not with fear, but with a surge of controlled fury. They had been waiting for this moment, though they did not know precisely when it would arrive. Every lesson, every trial, every secret training session had led to this day, the day when mortal and divine blood would collide with destiny itself. Kaelen crouched behind a toppled column, eyes scanning the battlefield. Two enforcers, creatures of light and shadow, their forms fluid yet impossibly strong, patrolled the main plaza, scanning for survivors. Kaelen could feel their power like a thorn in the back of their mind, the raw, unbridled authority of beings who had never known defeat. Many mortals had fallen before such wrath. Many more would perish. And yet Kaelen did not falter. "Kaelen!" a voice whispered from the shadows, sharp and urgent. It was Leora, a fellow hybrid who had been hidden alongside them for years. Her wings, translucent and glowing faintly, quivered with tension. "They've found the city. If we move now, we might save some. But if we hesitate..." Kaelen nodded, finishing the thought unspoken. Hesitation was not an option. They rose to their full height, muscles coiling with energy, starlight flickering over their skin like fire trapped beneath glass. Their voice, steady and commanding, carried across the ruins. "Then we strike." What followed was less battle than revelation. Kaelen moved through the streets with predatory grace, darting between cover and shadow, striking silently and efficiently. With each step, their powers awakened further. Strength that shattered stone, speed that blurred their movements, a luminous aura that caused the Pantheon's enforcers to hesitate ever so slightly. For the first time, mortals had a fighting chance. The first enforcer fell without a sound, dissipating into strands of light as Kaelen's blade passed through it. The second reacted faster, its form rippling with cosmic energy, eyes burning with divine judgment. Kaelen felt the surge of power, the pull of something older and infinitely stronger than themselves. Yet rather than fear, a singular clarity emerged. They were no longer merely immortal. They were something else, a bridge between worlds, the embodiment of wrath and hope alike. "You think this changes anything?" the enforcer hissed, voice echoing like a chorus of thunderclaps. "You are nothing. Mortal blood, human weakness. You cannot defeat divinity. Kaelen's eyes flared. Maybe I'm not here to defeat it. Maybe I'm here to remind it what it fears most. The will of those it underestimates. The clash was instantaneous. Energy met energy, flesh met shadow, and the world seemed to tilt under the force of their collision. Kaelen's power surged unpredictably, a dance of light and fury, and for the first time, the Pantheon's enforcer faltered. The hybrid struck with precision, striking at weakness rather than brute force, demonstrating cunning that no god expected from mortal blood. When the smoke cleared, Kaelen stood alone, the enforcer shattered into fragments of divine energy, dissipating harmlessly into the void. Their chest heaved, sweat mingling with the glow of their power, and yet their gaze remained steady, fixed on the horizon where other threats lingered. Kaelen knew this was only the beginning. The Pantheon would respond, and they would not be merciful. But for the first time, a seed of defiance had been planted in the heart of the cosmos, a spark that could ignite rebellion across worlds. Leora stepped beside them, her expression a mixture of awe and caution. Kaelen, you've done what no mortal or hybrid was meant to do. Kaelen's jaw tightened. I didn't do it for glory. I did it because it had to be done. The Pantheon believes themselves untouchable, but they have forgotten one thing. Even the smallest spark can burn down a star. The twin suns of Kaelaris now hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the ruins. And in that twilight, Kaelen, child of mortals, heir of divinity, felt the stirrings of destiny. The path ahead was perilous, littered with gods and monsters alike, but one truth burned brighter than any star. They would rise. They would challenge the Pantheon. And the universe would tremble in the wrath of a hybrid awakened. Rising wrath. The aftermath of Kaelaris' destruction left the hybrids standing amid smoldering ruins, the weight of their first victory pressing heavily upon them. Though the Pantheon's enforcer had fallen, Kaelen knew this was merely a taste of the conflict to come. The universe, vast and indifferent, held countless other forces loyal to the gods, and each would test Kaelen's strength in ways the mortal mind could scarcely comprehend. Kaelen, Leora said, her voice soft but urgent, we cannot stay here. The Pantheon will send more, and soon. Kaelen nodded, scanning the horizon where distant stars glittered like pinpricks of indifferent light. We move, they said, voice calm, yet charged with determination. We gather our allies. We train. And then we fight back. Their first step led them to the Vale of Irinder, a hidden sanctum among the stars, accessible only to those with celestial heritage. The sanctuary floated like a shard of crystal in the void, radiant yet unassuming, a place where mortals and hybrids alike could hide from divine eyes. Inside, Kaelen encountered others who had long resisted the Pantheon's tyranny. Rogue celestial beings, exiled mortals with extraordinary skill, and scholars of forgotten magic. Among them was Theros, a battle-hardened strategist with arms scarred from countless wars, and Selene, a mystic whose knowledge of celestial energy rivaled that of the Pantheon themselves. Both were wary of Kaelen at first, recognizing the hybrid's power but uncertain of their intent. Kaelen, in turn, understood their caution. They were a symbol, yes, but symbols could inspire or destroy. The choice was theirs. Days passed in rigorous training. Kaelen's powers were raw, unpredictable, and immense. Their mortal side allowed them to feel fear, pain, and empathy. Their divine blood granted them strength, speed, and energy manipulation far beyond human limits. Yet mastering both halves of themselves proved challenging. Every misstep risked injury, and every surge of power threatened to draw the Pantheon's attention. Theros taught Kaelen the art of strategy and deception. Strength alone does not win wars, he said one evening, overlooking a swirling nebula that bathed the training grounds in violet light. Even gods can be outwitted. You must learn to think beyond raw power, to anticipate their moves before they even know them. Selene, on the other hand, guided Kaelen through the intricacies of celestial energy. Your blood connects you to the stars themselves, she explained, tracing glowing patterns in the air. Learn to bend that connection. It is not merely power, it is awareness, perception, and control. Only when you harmonize mortal will and divine essence can you become unstoppable. Kaelen absorbed every lesson, each failure teaching more than success ever could. They leapt across void bridges in seconds, deflected bolts of divine energy, and honed their combat instincts against opponents who would have slain ordinary mortals in moments. And through it all, a fire burned brighter with each passing day. The desire to protect, to defy, and to reclaim freedom for those oppressed by gods who believed themselves beyond challenge. The hybrid's first test came sooner than expected. A celestial enforcer, larger and more powerful than the one Kaelen had faced in Kaelaris, descended upon the Vale of Irinder. Its arrival shook the sanctuary, sending shards of crystal floating into the void. Mortals and hybrids scattered, but Kaelen stood firm, feeling the familiar surge of fury and power awaken within. The battle was brutal. Kaelen's agility allowed them to evade crushing blows, while their energy manipulation struck at weak points in the enforcer's form. Leora fought beside them, her wings of light and shadow creating diversions that gave Kaelen openings to strike. For the first time, Kaelen realized that victory would not come through individual strength alone, but through unity, mortals and hybrids fighting as one. "You are reckless," the enforcer thundered, its voice resonating across the void like rolling mountains. "Your mortal arrogance will be your end." Kaelen's eyes glimmered like twin stars. "It is not arrogance. It is resolve. We fight because we must, because we can, and because we refuse to bow." With a final surge, Kaelen channeled their full power into a concentrated strike, shattering the enforcer into fragments of energy that scattered harmlessly into the void. The victory was hard-won, leaving Kaelen drained but alive, and the survivors of the Vale staring at them with awe and newfound hope. Yet the battle also carried a sobering revelation. The Pantheon was vast, powerful, and relentless. For every enforcer defeated, countless others remained, and the hybrid alone could not topple an entire divine order. Kaelen understood now that they needed more than raw power. They needed strategy, allies, and a plan to inspire rebellion across the stars. In the days that followed, Kaelen worked tirelessly to unite disparate forces. They traveled between star systems, offering hope to oppressed planets and rallying mortals and sympathetic celestial beings alike. Each victory, small or large, reinforced a growing legend, the hybrid who defied the gods. News of their deeds spread like wildfire, reaching even the ears of the Pantheon, who began to regard Kaelen not merely as a threat, but as an anomaly, a mortal who should have been powerless, yet dared to challenge the divine. Amid the victories and the growing support, Kaelen wrestled with internal conflict. Power was intoxicating, and the whispers of the stars hinted at possibilities that mortals should never wield. They saw glimpses of what they could become, a being capable of toppling gods, reshaping star systems, even rewriting the laws of reality. Yet each vision carried a warning. If they lost themselves to hubris, if mortal restraint gave way to divine arrogance, they would become the very thing they fought against. One night, as Kaelen gazed at a distant galaxy swirling with violet and gold, Leora approached. "Kaelen, you've inspired hope where there was none. But do you understand the weight of what you've begun? The Pantheon will not forget. And they will not forgive." Kaelen met her gaze, their own eyes reflecting the starlight. "I understand," they said quietly. "But I will not falter. Mortals may be fragile, gods may be powerful, but courage can move stars." And so, the hybrid's legend continued to grow. With each battle, each rallying of allies, and each defiance of the divine, Kaelen learned more about the balance between mortal restraint and celestial power. They were no longer just a survivor of Kaelaris' destruction. They were a symbol, a spark of rebellion against the order of the cosmos. As the stars stretched infinitely overhead, Kaelen felt the stirrings of destiny intensify. The Pantheon would respond with greater fury, sending champions and horrors beyond imagining. But Kaelen had discovered a truth more profound than power itself. Unity, will, and unwavering resolve could challenge even divinity. The hybrid was rising, and the stars themselves seemed to lean in, watching, waiting, and perhaps even cheering. Clash of mortals and gods. The galaxy was ablaze with rebellion. Systems long oppressed under the Pantheon's rule now whispered the name Kaelen, the hybrid who had risen from the ashes of Kaelaris to challenge the divine. Planets once isolated and fearful now sent emissaries, fleets, and warriors to the call of a mortal who refused to bow. Kaelen stood at the forefront of this alliance, their figure luminous against the swirling colors of a nebula, an emblem of hope and defiance. The first true test of their leadership came on the battlefield of Vayara Prime. The Pantheon had sent an elite contingent of divine enforcers, beings whose mere presence warped reality, bending light and matter with the ease of thought. Mortals, even those trained in celestial arts, trembled at the sight. Yet Kaelen's voice rang clear across the ranks. Fear is their weapon. Resolve is ours. Today we fight not just for survival but for freedom. Stand with me, and together we will show the gods that mortals are not to be underestimated. The hybrid's aura flared, casting brilliant streaks of energy across the battlefield, and for a moment, fear turned into determination. Soldiers, pilots, and rogue celestials rallied, their morale bolstered by Kaelen's presence. This was more than combat, it was the spark of a movement. The battle erupted with terrifying intensity. Kaelen's fleet moved in synchrony, weaving through waves of divine energy as enforcers unleashed destructive beams that turned the surface of Vayara Prime into molten craters. Kaelen led the charge personally, a blur of starlight and mortal ingenuity, dodging attacks, striking at weak points in the enforcers' forms, and coordinating mortals with strategic precision learned under Thero's guidance. Despite their skill, the hybrid knew this confrontation was different. The Pantheon's champions were not just powerful, they were tactical, adaptive, and relentless. Kaelen felt the strain in every movement, the physical toll of mortal flesh, the mental burden of divine awareness, the constant push to control energies that could easily overwhelm them. And yet, for the first time, Kaelen began to understand the true meaning of their hybrid nature. The balance between mortal resilience and divine potential was not a weakness, it was an advantage. One enforcer, colossal and resplendent with flowing light, descended upon Kaelen with a speed that defied comprehension. Its voice rolled across the battlefield like a storm. Mortal hybrid, you presume to lead. You are insignificant. Kaelen squared their shoulders, starlight blazing in their eyes. Insignificant. Defiant. Always. The clash shook the very orbit of Vayara Prime. Energy collided with energy, flesh met divine force, and mortals rallied under the spectacle, fighting with courage they had never known. Kaelen's strikes were precise, exploiting weaknesses the enforcer assumed did not exist. Every dodge, every counter, every surge of their power showcased the unique potential of a being who could bridge two worlds. Meanwhile, Kaelen's allies took advantage of the distraction. Rogue celestials and mortal soldiers coordinated attacks that disrupted the enforcer's rhythm. Fleets maneuvered with impeccable timing, delivering devastating blows. The battle became not just a test of strength, but a testament to unity, strategy, and the indomitable will of those who had been deemed powerless. As the fight reached its apex, Kaelen felt something stir deep within, the latent power inherited from the divine side of their lineage. Stars themselves seemed to respond, flaring in distant skies, their light coalescing into a radiant aura around the hybrid. With a final, concentrated strike, Kaelen shattered the enforcer into fragments of energy, scattering it harmlessly into space. The battlefield fell silent for a moment, the echoes of cosmic destruction fading into awestruck gasps. But victory was not without cost. Kaelen felt the strain of overextending, the delicate balance between mortal endurance and divine power stretched to its limits. Around them, allies tended to the wounded, mourning those who had fallen. And yet, even in the shadow of loss, there was hope. Mortals had faced gods and survived. Mortals had dared to fight. Mortals had begun to believe in the impossible. In the aftermath, Kaelen convened with leaders from allied worlds. "This is only the beginning," Kaelen said, voice steady despite exhaustion. "The Pantheon will not stop. They will send greater champions, heavier weapons, and horrors beyond imagining. But they have forgotten one thing. Courage and ingenuity are not bound by divine decree. Mortals can defy, adapt, and rise. And we will continue to rise together. The hybrid also faced internal struggles during this period. With each battle, each victory, Kaelen glimpsed the intoxicating allure of power. Stars whispered of possibilities that could reshape galaxies, that could bend gods to their will. But Kaelen resisted, remembering the lessons of Theros and Selene, remembering that the essence of their power was not domination. It was defiance, it was protection, it was inspiration. They would not become the very tyranny they fought against. Word of Kaelen's victories spread rapidly across star systems, sowing hope where fear had reigned. Mortals who had once lived in secret, hiding from the Pantheon's gaze, now emerged to train, fight, and resist. Celestials who had grown disillusioned with divine rule found a rallying point in Kaelen's rebellion. The hybrid's influence extended far beyond battlefield tactics. It was cultural, political, and philosophical, challenging the very idea that gods were untouchable. Yet, even as rebellion flourished, Kaelen knew the Pantheon was preparing its ultimate response. Whispers reached them of a council convened among the highest gods, strategizing ways to end the hybrid's challenge once and for all. Kaelen understood that their next battles would not be isolated skirmishes. They would be war itself, a cosmic struggle of mortals against divinity. On the eve of another engagement, Kaelen stood alone on the bridge of their flagship, gazing into the swirling expanse of the galaxy. The lights of countless stars shimmered like distant eyes, silent witnesses to the unfolding rebellion. Leora approached quietly, placing a hand on Kaelen's shoulder. "You've done more than I imagined," she said softly. "The stars themselves seem to bend to your will, but the Pantheon will not relent. Are we ready for what comes next?" Kaelen's eyes glimmered with determination, reflecting both the brilliance of distant suns and the fire within. "We will be ready," they said firmly. "Mortals are underestimated, gods are arrogant, and I am neither fully mortal nor fully divine. That is my advantage. That is why we will prevail." As the hybrid gazed across the cosmic battlefield, a new clarity emerged. Victory would require more than strength. It would require strategy, allies, courage, and an unwavering belief that the seemingly impossible could be achieved. And Kaelen, standing on the precipice of destiny, understood that the true test lay not in individual battles, but in the ability to ignite the hearts of mortals and challenge the very order of the Pantheon itself. The hybrid's wrath among stars was only beginning, and the universe would never be the same. Wrath among stars. The cosmos trembled under the weight of destiny. Kaelen's fleet, a mosaic of mortal ships, rogue celestial vessels, and hybrid warriors, advanced toward the heart of the Pantheon's domain. The obsidian throne, a colossal spire of living star metal orbiting a blackened sun. Beyond its jagged spires lay the council of gods themselves, beings whose arrogance rivaled their power, each one capable of annihilating entire star systems with a thought. Yet Kaelen stood at the forefront, luminous, resolute, and unyielding. They had trained, fought, and inspired, and now the culmination of prophecy and rebellion was at hand. Mortals and hybrids alike had placed their hope in the hybrid who had defied the gods at every turn. The time for diplomacy had passed. Time for war was now. The first wave of divine defense struck immediately. Titans of energy, enormous enforcers, and cosmic horrors surged forward, their forms shifting between solid and astral, warping reality around them. Kaelen's fleet responded in perfect synchrony. Fleets split, dodged, and struck with precision, a choreography of resistance born from months of preparation. Mortals piloted ships with cunning that defied their creators' expectations, while hybrids wove raw energy into shields, weapons, and traps. Kaelen led the charge personally. Their body pulsed with starlight, radiant energy flowing in patterns only they could control. Each strike tore through the enemy's ranks. Each maneuver displayed a hybrid mind perfectly balancing mortal instinct and divine perception. Behind them, Leora and allies fought with equal ferocity, their powers complementing Kaelen's in a symphony of defiance. The gods themselves descended. The council of the Pantheon manifested above the obsidian throne, their presence bending space around them, warping the very stars into prisms of destructive energy. One by one they addressed Kaelen, their voices like thunder and eternity. "You dare challenge us?" boomed Elthar, the god of judgment, his form shimmering with countless celestial wings. "You, a creature of mortal frailty, think you can overthrow the divine order?" Kaelen's eyes blazed with determination, unwavering. "I do not seek to overthrow. I seek justice, freedom, and the truth that mortals, no matter how small, can defy tyranny. Your rule is not law, it is fear. And fear can be challenged." With that, the battle escalated beyond comprehension. Stars themselves seemed to shudder as divine energy clashed with hybrid power. Kaelen moved faster than thought, dodging beams that could tear planets apart, striking where God's defenses faltered. Mortals fought alongside them, inspired by the hybrid's example, proving that courage and strategy could match raw power. Each god Kaelen confronted tested them not only physically but mentally. Illusions, manipulations of time, and whispers of doubt assailed the hybrid, challenging their resolve. Yet Kaelen drew strength from their mortality, the capacity to care, to fear, to endure, and to act despite uncertainty. Each mortal choice became a weapon against the rigid perfection of divinity. The turning point came when Kaelen reached the central chamber of the obsidian throne. The Pantheon's leader, Seraphon, the architect of cosmic order, awaited, a being of pure light and shadow intertwined. Seraphon's gaze pierced the hybrid, searching for fear, doubt, or weakness. Finding none, the god smiled, a gesture both terrifying and begrudgingly respectful. "You are unlike any mortal I have encountered," Seraphon said. "You balance two worlds, yet the cost will be your undoing. Are you prepared to pay it?" Kaelen squared their shoulders, energy flaring around them. "I do not fight for glory, nor for survival alone. I fight for every mortal who has been crushed, every world that has been enslaved, and every life that has been denied a voice. If cost is demanded, I will pay it, for it is worth more than silence." The final clash was cataclysmic. Energy erupted across the void, stars fractured, and the obsidian throne groaned under the force of their battle. Kaelen's mastery of both mortal cunning and divine energy allowed them to adapt with each strike, turning Seraphon's power back upon itself in ways even a god could not anticipate. Every blow carried the weight of mortal resilience, every maneuver the ingenuity of hybrid intellect. Allies fought desperately around them, striking at weaknesses in the Pantheon's defenses, proving that even the mightiest beings could be challenged when courage united against them. Mortals hurled weapons of ingenuity, hybrid energy pierced divine shields, and celestial renegades sowed chaos in the ranks of gods who had assumed absolute control. Finally, Kaelen harnessed the full potential of their hybrid essence. Light and shadow, mortal will and divine energy fused into a singular force that surged outward, a tidal wave of power that collided with Seraphon's essence. The gods' defenses shattered, the obsidian throne trembled, and for a moment, the cosmos held its breath. When the radiance subsided, Kaelen stood victorious, exhausted but unbroken. The Pantheon, humbled and fractured, retreated, realizing that their reign of unquestioned authority had ended. Mortals cheered, hybrids soared, and the universe, for the first time in eons, breathed freely. In the aftermath, Kaelen did not claim dominion over the stars. Instead, they ensured the freedom of planets, the establishment of alliances, and the empowerment of mortal civilizations. Gods who remained were bound by new agreements, their arrogance tempered, their tyranny curtailed. The hybrid had not become a god, they had become something more profound, a symbol of potential, courage, and the unyielding spirit of mortals. Leora approached, placing a hand on Kaelen's shoulder. "You've done what was thought impossible. The universe. It's changed because of you." Kaelen gazed at the stars, their light reflecting both triumph and humility. "The universe has always had the potential for change," they said softly. I simply reminded it that even the smallest spark can ignite the greatest blaze. Mortals are capable of more than the gods ever imagined. That is the true wrath among stars. And so, the hybrid who had risen from the ashes of Kaelaris became a legend across the galaxy. Stories of their courage inspired generations, proving that mortal determination, intelligence, and unity could challenge even the mightiest of beings. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter in acknowledgement, a cosmic testament to the enduring power of hope, defiance, and the unbreakable spirit of those who refused to bow. Kaelen looked to the horizon, where distant galaxies shimmered like a tapestry of infinite possibilities. The path ahead remained uncertain, challenges would arise, and threats would endure. But the hybrid knew one immutable truth. The universe belonged not to the gods, nor to fate, but to those who dared to seize it. And so, beneath the radiant glow of countless stars, Kaelen, child of mortals, heir of divinity, and champion of freedom, stood tall, ready to shape a universe that would never forget the wrath of a hybrid awakened.